Welcome back to Sunrise Daily. We're joined now by Linus Ukamba, who is a former arbitrator at the Industrial Arbitration Panel. Thank you for coming on this morning, sir.
Thank you very much, Jambalin.
Well, we did describe it as an interesting time we have in politics at the moment, given the back and forth that is going on. There are many who are of the opinion that this may just affect moving forward. I mean, they say we are already in a situation, and now being faced with this may just throw spanner in the works. Is it your view that what is going on is democracy at work?
Well, democracy has been around as a system of government for a very long time. In Nigeria, we started with Nigeria, British rule and early independence, and tried to queue into democracy. But most of the time, the driving force has been what we can get out of government and not what we can put into government. And so there are areas that we do not pay proper attention to. The result is what we are seeing here today. For instance, between the presidency and the Senate, a lot of work has to be done. Information from the presidency to the Senate. It's not something that should come only when a letter is written. And when Senate is considering an issue from the presidency, there should be movement of information from what the Senate is doing, the reaction from the presidency, before it becomes a public issue. Maybe they have one issue or less than two issues to resolve. Now, okay, let me stop so far.
You ran a secretariat before, I mean the NLC, you know how some of these things work. What is the big deal about handling some of this correspondence between the presidency and the Senate?
Now you have an office, which in Nigeria we call it liaison office. The national liaison officer or an officer for the National Assembly to the presidency. What do they do? If the president is sending a nominee for confirmation, is it just the file that he sends across and everybody goes to sleep and the Senate wakes up one morning and says it's confirmed? A lot of work has to be done. Why is it at the point of Senate screening that you find out that the man before the Senate has some question marks? Who did the clearance before it was sent to the Senate? A man is appointed for an acting appointment of 3 months. And in 3 months, nothing is said. It's the responsibility of the employer or the appointee to make a review in 3 months. If you don't do a review in 3 months, you have not done your job. And after the man has been given for that 3 months to also try his luck, you are sending him to the Senate at the end of the period when his acting business should have ended. And yet you don't have enough information on demand to present to the Senate. Now, this is where the lobbyists come in. In the US, where we are coming from, they call them lobbyists. Lobbying does not mean exchange of money. It means exchange of ideas. I'm presenting this man to you to be so ABC. And these are his background. These are the reasons why I think he can do this job.
Do you think the presidency believes in lobbyists?
I don't know whether they believe in them or whether what they're doing is lobbying or whatever, but the way it's supposed to be done, the end result of it should show what has been done behind. Even a nominee for, say, ambassadorial position could get a lobbyist, people who can build up his background, what he has done, and present to the Senate, not only the presidency.
And speaking about which, I mean, there are those who think that the Senate already set a precedent. If they were able to reconsider some of the ambassadorial nominees and then approve them, why not this too?
Now, these are the things I said should have been done before. Now, if you are sending a list, though you are the president, and you send a list and it's lopsided, and people say it's lopsided, that does not mean that the details of the people who are going to do the job has been looked into. The quarrel was about how many states have 2 people, how many states have 1. So if that is corrected, then the other issues probably were not looked at. Now, if that list was balanced ab initio, the Senate then would have the business of saying, you are sending this man to Spain. Does he understand one word of Spanish language? How is the embassy there in terms of interpretation? Will he know what he's going to do there? Why do you send a man who is only competent in one language and you send him to a country where he doesn't understand the language? He will still be ambassador, no doubt.
Mark has got a question for you. Mark.
Well, now the issues that you raise, I mean, these are issues that were raised previously. Now that the president has presented or represented Mr. Mago's name and also asked for clearance for the SGF Babachir Lawal, how do you see things, or how would you suggest the senators proceed on these matters?
My hope is that it's not just returning of the file. I hope that the doubts which the Senate has raised in the first instance are clearly resolved. And that is why I'm talking about the people who are in the liaison. What have they done to show to the Senate that whatever reason why they refuse confirmation or refuse to proceed to confirmation stage has been resolved? Now, if you want to do things politically, you do it before you present to the public. People in the Senate are supposed to know what you find in the person that you want to present. And other considerations, where he comes from, what political party he favors, what are his inclinations, would have been cleared before the man is presented. And if the president insists that all other things being equal, that this is the man he wants,
some people say that
they will be presented.
Some people say that, before now we had seen that the Senate president had paid, not at least more than one visit to the villa. We had also seen Senator Ali Ndume in the presidency before now, that perhaps some horse trading may have gone on behind the scenes that we should have seen reflected, and that's the reason why the president may have represented Mr. Mago's name. Do you think that could have happened? Did you suspect that any of those kinds of things could have taken place?
If there is horse trading, if there are explanations made here and there, the Senate still has its own responsibility. How do the public perceive them? Are they going to change their mind if they do not have good enough reason to do so? Now, question of buying the office for the nominee is cheap. But if the president has a good reason why the man should be nominated again or confirmed, okay. But if we are not given enough explanation, it means that the man will get back into that office with question marks over his head. Did he or did he not